me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Good evening. This is Lady Estelle and the Street Soldier Crew, and we are back for another Sunday evening with you. Your host this evening is delighted to see that we are still here. We are still alive and free, and your host, Dr. Joseph E. Marshall Jr.
Thank you, Lady E. I can't see you, but I heard your voice. There you go. There you go.
I am.
There you go. Good evening, Street Soldiers. Good evening. It is Alive and Free Street Soldiers. Let me get my words out. Radio one more time. Making it good in your neighborhood. Doing everything we can do to keep you very simple. Alive and free. Anybody knows? Everybody knows me when they ask, Dr. Marshall, how you doing? What do I say, Ann?
I am alive and free.
That's it. That's the goal. Everything else, I can make stuff happen if I'm alive and free. So I do not take that for granted. And good to see all of you here in the studio and all of you out there listening and watching. You are also alive and free. Got another great show for you tonight. All kinds of show we've done before that couldn't really wait to bring it back again. But thanks to Ann. Ann makes these, Ann be bringing some good ideas.
Look, I just love that this is a show that we can have some real conversations, right? So thank goodness for Street Soldiers Radio.
Everybody out there know I'm a basketball fan. I will not make any comments on the playoffs. Just to say they are in full force. Yeah, full force. When we get something about what the Warriors will do, we will certainly have a conversation about it with regards to the coach and some of the players. I know Don Miguel of the Mo has some ideas about what should happen
with the Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah, but
we'll see.
We're gonna let it play out.
There you go. Exactly. We're gonna let it play out. All right, you gotta say good evening. Good evening to Lady E. Okay, Lady E. Good evening. You already spoke, so I guess you ain't coming. Come on. Okay. And Ann, good evening.
Good evening. I'm just going to say that I had a fabulous weekend out in Vallejo on Mare Island. We had decked the island today, and there were a lot of people, a lot of good music, all different kinds of genres of music out too. And nothing like outplayed the other. It was really kind of cool, and lots of food trucks. You got to be patient when you're at a food truck, by the way. And donuts, 16 donut holes for $26. I said no, but we said yes to the blue raspberry lemonade.
Nobody says no to blue raspberry lemonade.
That sounds really tasty and refreshing. My goodness.
Nobody says no to that. A lot of violence this weekend. beginning with the shooting at the White House Correspondent Dinner. Why okay, beginning with that, everybody was evacuated. They did apprehend someone, and they are checking them out.
Yeah.
Checking them out. I mean, anytime you have one of these, obviously shootings of
how many times has that happened?
3 that I know of. Okay, 3 that I know of. But the question is the big question is security. It seemed to be some real lax security as to how this shooter got past everybody to get there. But that will all come out. I'm sure that will come to light. And like I said, that's just one of a series of news. 2 teens were killed after a planned fight in a North Carolina school.
Oh my goodness.
1 killed, 5 wounded in a mass shooting at a mall in Baton Rouge. I don't know what's going on in Louisiana because last week we had the Shreveport.
Wow.
One that, this guy killed all his kids. And this was a shooting at a mall in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What else we got here? Apparently they had a huge, nobody died, probably because there were knives involved and not guns, but just there's multiple people at a Redwood City restaurant injured in a fight last night, right down the road.
In Redwood City?
In Redwood City, yeah. Hey, that's why I spoke at a class at USF this week, and I told people, we got the hardest job in the world. I said, "Why you got the hardest job? Trying to stop violence in a world full of violence."
Yeah.
That's all everybody do. That's everybody does. And they looked at me and like, "Yeah, man, you got a hard doctor, Marshall. You got a hard job." I'll do this last one. 9 people were injured in a mass shooting near Indiana University early Sunday.
Wow.
All right. Police responded to reports of gunfire at a celebration. Anyway, so we got a violence problem, and specifically we have a gun violence problem because, like I said, everybody got a gun. Everybody's got a gun. I'm going to spend time on this tonight.
Yeah, one more announcement.
We got an announcement? It's not about Klay Thompson and Megan Thee Stallion, is it?
Well, I was gonna add that to the Warriors part, but no.
I was gonna leave that for Mike to comment.
I'm glad you know about that, Dr. Marshall. See, on top of everything.
That popped up. You popped up on the phone.
It was breaking news.
It was breaking news. That's right. Breaking news. Yes.
No, I want to let the community know that May 5th, there is a youth poetry event going on, and there will be some cash prizes, which we love. And it's going to be held at the Umoja Hap, the 503rd Street in San Francisco. The doors open at 6, and you can go ahead and find some more information when you check out First Tuesday's Spoken Word Presents. So, yep, that is going on right now.
Thank you.
We'll also post it on our social media if you want to check it out over there. StayAliveandFree.org.
And another announcement. I had it all printed out. Of course, I left it at the office. Remember Coach John Bean, right? John Bean is putting together a foundation for coaches.
Good.
For him. And I tell you, next week I'll definitely bring it in. We talk, I'll get the word out. But Oakland own Coach Bean is being celebrated. And this is for aspiring coaches to live up to, I guess, John Bean's legacy. Wow. I think that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very cool. Now, if there's no comment about Megan and Clay, I'll move on.
Mike?
You gonna leave that alone?
What do you think?
Gonna leave that alone?
No comment.
No comment.
You gonna get somebody, you get people in trouble.
Oh.
You heard what Michael Rappaport said? He was funny.
What did he say?
He basically said, man, you got my wife looking at me saying basically if Klay Thompson leaving Megan Thee Stallion, you gonna leave you. I know you looking at other women. How's she gonna get cheated on?
Yeah, let me say this. Remember the show that we did on
I don't know if she got cheated on. He said he wanted a
I
uh,
didn't follow that closely.
I don't know. I really ain't interested. But however, but remember the show we did on, wise sayings that we got from your elders when you were growing up?
Yes.
And one of them was keep your business to yourself. Don't put your business in the street. And then it was been updated. Don't put your life on social media. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you want to announce y'all broke up, cool. But why she put everything in there. So I don't know why people do that. So rescue us. Rescue us with he don't care about nothing. He only cares about one thing. And the one thing is he saw the white glove twice this week. He saw the moonwalk. He moonwalked in the studio and out.
Oh, wow.
So enlighten us on the Michael Jackson biopic.
Well, since you want me to be starting something, I'm gonna let you know I never can say goodbye, And I just ran into this girl around the corner, her name Billie Jean, everything, and she wanted me to come on the air and tell you, don't forget to look at the man in the mirror, okay? And
you all
after tonight's show, I'm gonna be off the wall for sure, okay?
Yeah, all right, yeah, that was tight.
I could go on and on. Look, we could go 2 hours just like this, okay? I'm so hyped off that movie. Y'all, please go see Michael. I was crying in that theater like I was in tears.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
Well, and not only that, what did it say? It broke. What is that? I got this somewhere in here. It broke the record, and
no surprise. That's what he does.
Wow, that's true.
No, I want to get the exact thing. All right, the Michael Jackson biopic. Michael overcame poor reviews and production problems to achieve a record-breaking opening weekend at the domestic box office. The film earned $97 million in its opening weekend. All right. Easily the biggest opening weekend of a musical biopic in history. Previous record was held by Straight Outta Compton.
Wow.
About NWA, which $60 million domestically, and I'm gonna see who knows Bohemian Rhapsody. Did you see that? No. Do you know who?
Good movie.
Who was about?
Who's that about? Rockstar. Oh, that was about. Wasn't that
Freddie Mercury? Yes, Queen.
Yeah, Queen. Yeah.
Earned $51 million, and Michael.
Wow.
Like you might expect, broke their record. So you went on what? Well, you went 2 days, right?
It was an emotional week for me because this week was a 10-year anniversary. I don't like that word, but it marked 10 years since the death of Prince.
Wow.
And then I think that was Wednesday. So I was listening to Prince all day. Yeah. And then Thursday, the movie came out. So I had to go see that. Then on Friday, I had to take my kids to see it. So, I mean, man, I ain't stopped listening to Mike. My son been singing Human Nature all day.
Wow.
We've been harmonizing in the car.
Oh.
We was doing the I'm trying to do the Smooth Criminal Lean. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
And last week,
that's my favorite Michael Jackson video.
Michael, we were talking last week, Film on Mike, about Ray being the top, but this one is in my top 3. It's up there.
Okay,
so go check it out and let me know what you think.
I will.
Really, very entertaining.
I usually like to wait like a week before everybody get out the theaters. I like to go when there's hardly nobody there.
I understand that.
12 o'clock.
So he saw it twice. The first time he saw it, the theater, I think, wasn't predominantly black. And the second time he saw it in Richmond, a whole bunch of black folks.
Well, the first time it was predominantly empty.
Okay.
There wasn't nobody in there. But on Friday night, it was folks in there. And, it was black folks. So we was up there talking to the screen. We was cheering. And then at the end, people was dancing. Some girl, she had the white glove on and everything. I mean, I forgot how much people love Mike. It was a party up there. And the music too. I mean, it's the music.
Well, Mike is one of the few that you connect with as a child. You know, all the way.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. I'm going.
Lady Estelle, go see that movie, okay? Treat yourself.
I will.
Thank you.
And take your grandkids.
Oh.
Okay. If you can
Yeah.
persuade them.
See, I always get the phrase or the song to me. They're always like, "Annie, are you okay?" So I'm just like, ah.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I sent Malcolm a video of Evelyn today because she did a school dance to now
I Want You Back.
I want you back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought that was. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So anyway, I just want to.
You know, Doc, you might have mentioned it because I was late. I know there was some other news that happened, you know, in Washington, D.C. And it's so interesting that I saw the headline and I'm like, okay, what's for dinner? You know, it's like it doesn't even matter. I didn't even want to read it. I don't care. I just okay. And I guess that's just a sign of the times. Because I was like, yeah, Michael Jackson.
We reported on it.
Yeah.
As we did on a number of other violent incidents. And that's the sign of the time. The violence is the sign of the time.
You're right about that.
All right. We have a guest in the house tonight, and she is here under a different subject tonight. She is here under a different subject tonight. I want to welcome to the studio Monica Howell. Monica Howell. Monica.
I thought that was you, Monica. What's up?
Hello.
Nice to see her in person. We have seen her in the past. What, a couple of shows, right?
Yeah.
On the screen.
Amazing. Yeah.
Doing her a wonderful job with her level of expertise.
Yeah.
With
Yes.
immigration law.
Yes.
Regards to immigration law. I want to say, I know I said this to you in an email, Monica. Maybe I haven't said it on the phone. But every time you come on, people are like so grateful. And thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's not just how they feel, it's your willingness to inform people about this. And you want them to know what's up. You want them to know what's up. So really want to thank you for that. And I'm sure you'll be back again because it's an ever-changing, ongoing thing.
We had a few more years.
There was something that happened just this weekend, right? Or this week. Like they're taking naturalized citizens. They coming after those folks. Monica, I'm sure you saw that, but
we kind of knew that anyway.
Yeah.
I knew that anyway. But she is here to help us with something completely different. But it is a topic that we have done previously. And brought it to our attention once again that it is Autism Awareness Month. But I like the way you framed it. They call it now Autism Acceptance Month.
Yes.
That's right. I like that because they moved from awareness now to framing it. I mean, saying autism acceptance.
Celebrating diversity, right? We're all
Yes.
human and
Yes.
you know, learning how to accept each other's differences.
We did this show in November of 2023, our first time. It was the bomb. It was great. Had a lot of calls.
Yeah.
We found out a lot about autism. You know, unless somebody, I don't know, has a relative or lives with it, or, you know, you got your notions about it, right? And so that show opened not only my eyes, but the listeners' eyes. And we had a lot of calls. So we're going to talk about it again tonight. Let me give you the number, 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. Before we begin with Monica and her story of autism, let me just read. Where did I get this from? I got this from, I don't know, the Mayo Clinic, I guess.
Okay.
You know, autism spectrum disorder is a condition related to, and by the way, when I finish this, you tell me if this is right, okay?
Will do.
Autism spectrum disorder is a condition related to brain development that affects how people see others and socializes. This causes problem in communication and getting along with others social. That's what this says. Let me read the whole thing. The condition also includes limited and repeated patterns of behavior. The term spectrum in autism spectrum disorder refers to the wide range of symptoms and the severity of these symptoms. It includes conditions that were once thought to be separate: autism, Asperger's, childhood, well, they got some names for this, disintegrative disorder, what are they? In the form of widespread development disorder that isn't specified. The spectrum disorder begins in early childhood. Over time, it can cause difficulty functioning in society. For example, it says here people with autism spectrum disorder may have problems being social or when in school or at work. Often children show symptoms of autism in the first year of life. Small number of children with conditions appear to develop as expected in the first year. Then between 18 and 24 months of age, they may lose some skills and develop autism symptoms. It says here there is no cure for autism spectrum disorder, but getting treatment early during the preschool years can make a big difference in the lives of many children with the condition. And then it goes on to talks about symptoms, which I'm not going to read all of that. Patterns of behavior. Then there's a little piece, and this is what we found out last time about autism in people of color, because that's not necessarily autism spectrum disorder affects about, I'm glad this 1 in 36 children in the United States. But racial and ethnic disparities show how it is identified, supported, and experienced in communities of color. All right. I think that's enough.
Thank you very much. I agree with much of what was said. Sir,
I don't think I don't know. Mike, can we turn up the mic a little bit, or maybe it's just
I
me?
can hear her.
Okay.
No?
All right. Yeah, I'm good. Okay.
yes, I just want to say that I do agree with the definition that you read from the Mayo Clinic. And I think what's really interesting about autism is that in the media, it's shown in a very different way than in real life, right? Because I think when a lot of people think of what an autistic person is, they think of the movie Rain Man. Are you familiar with that movie?
Yes.
It's an
I
old
think
movie.
that's Dustin Hoffman, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Dustin Hoffman. So the thing is that for those of you who aren't familiar with the movie Rain Man, the person who is autistic in the film is portrayed as, being able to do very complicated calculations very quickly, not really having any social skills at all, and not being able to have any eye contact at all. And I think that, so folks, when they meet my son, who's 8 years old, and I tell them that he's autistic, they're very surprised because they always tell me like, oh, you would never guess. And the thing is that just as how there's no neurotypical person that is the same as another neurotypical person, all neurodiverse people are different as well. So like you were saying, from the definition that you read, autism is a spectrum. And so there are certain characteristics of folks that are autistic that may appear to be more obvious than others. And another thing sometimes that autistic children do is they mask their autistic traits in order to blend in with their neurodiverse peers. So definitely.
Let's back to, and I think the word spectrum helps a lot.
Right.
All the spectrum says it's a, it's a wide range is the word I'm looking at. But you're right about that movie. I remember seeing that movie, and for years that was the image of autistic people in my head.
Right.
It was. Somebody with autistic. It's stuttering. I had all of these. And so this. I guess redefining or clarifying, trying to look for the right word.
Okay.
The range, spectrum of autism has probably been helpful for everybody. It's got to be.
And Doc, too, there's a lot of misinformation as well.
Yes.
I think part of it is just clearing up, so much misinformation that's out there too about autism.
That's why we're trying to find out the truth or what it really is. And for us, look, folks, if you call in 877-955-1061, we chose not to have, we didn't bring a doctor in, okay? Yeah. We didn't bring a doctor in. We brought in families, who have autistic children in their family. In both cases, this is your son, right?
Mhm.
And it's Gary's son, right? As we've done so far. So we'd like to hear your experiences. Share what you're going through, how you're dealing with it. Yeah, because it's your kid.
Yeah.
And you love your kid.
Yeah.
You know, and you love your kid. If you could sort of start at the beginning, Micah, and talk about, when did you find out and how old is Jordan?
My son is 8 years old.
8 years old.
And we
Okay.
first started noticing that he had signs of developmental milestone delays within the first year because he had a delay in walking.
Mm.
So he actually did not walk until he was 19 months old, which usually the normal range, it ranges anywhere from 10 months to 14 months.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when he was delayed in walking, we went to the doctor, and the doctor recommended all of these physical therapy exercises to try to get him to walk. And she told us that, this doesn't necessarily mean that he's neurodiverse or that he's autistic. There are people whose children, they walk later and then they end up being neurotypical as well. So we said, okay. But when he went to preschool, when he was around 2 years old, the teachers were telling us that he had a lot of difficulties with transitions. And so, for example, if he was engaged in a preferred activity, like singing a song that he loved, like Wheels on the Bus, and then once they stopped, which was part of the routine, he would have a meltdown or a temper tantrum. And so that was one of the other key elements, aside from the delay in the developmental milestone of walking, where we saw, okay, well, the difficulty in transitions, this doesn't look the same as the type of behavior that my nephews had or that my niece had, which I had watched them and babysat them pretty frequently when they were younger. And so it was helpful for me because the preschool teachers told me, it looks like your son has characteristics of a child who might have autism. And so once I heard that, I wanted to get him evaluated as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, do you remember 2020? There's like this thing that happened.
Oh,
It's a global wide pandemic. So
You're talking about the TV show. Funny.
no. So that resulted in a severe delay in him actually getting diagnosed. And so it took several months for him to actually have an evaluation. And it wasn't in person. It was through several virtual appointments. But that first evaluation afterwards, the psychologist actually said, well, I don't think that he's autistic. One of the criteria that we're looking for is difficulties in communication. He was 3 years old at the time. And I just, took the psychologist's word for it and said, okay, well then we'll let you know if we have further concerns. And then 6 more months passed, and we were still having the same concerns with respect to sensory difficulties. For example, if he heard the vacuum, or if we were in a public restroom and he heard the hand dryer, it was really loud. It was like you could tell that it was like torture for him. And so with the sensory difficulties, the difficulties in transitions, and overall the meltdowns that he would have if there was a change in routine or a change from something that was expected, I knew from having been around children before that those characteristics were, something that I should be concerned about. So we went back to the hospital that provides some services and we asked for another evaluation. And I remember still in 2021, they were not offering in-person evaluations. And so we had to go through a series of video conferences with the therapist that was evaluating him. And as my other job, aside from being a mom, is I'm an immigration attorney.
Yep.
So I very much advocated for him during the first evaluation and during the second evaluation. And I basically wrote out all of the things or all of the symptoms and characteristics that I was seeing that made me believe that he's neurodiverse and he needs a formal diagnosis so that he can qualify for services. And fortunately, during the second evaluation at the end, he did receive the diagnosis of autism.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for different families, this can come, you can take that in different ways. Like some people can feel disappointed.
Yep.
Some people can feel like they did something wrong. when we received the diagnosis, I actually felt relieved because I felt, okay, now he has a formal diagnosis. Now
You
we
knew
can
what was
qualify
going
him
on.
from services,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what's interesting is that my older brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, they've both been special education teachers for years. And so they were very helpful in even telling me and my husband what the typical characteristics are of children that are autistic. And, once we got the formal diagnosis, my older brother said, it's going to be okay. Um, your son's going to be fine. And I knew that he was going to be fine because he has a community to support him.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the most difficult things go ahead.
Let me just, no. I just
Okay.
I want to put the number out again because I want folks who are questions, comments, and if you have a personal experience with autism, please give us a call 877-955-1061 877-955-1061. I just want to read some of these things as you're speaking about symptoms. Right?
Mhm.
And you said the first one for you was that the delay in walking.
Yes.
According to the Mayo Clinic, I just want to read this. Some children show signs of autism disorder in early infancy, such as less eye contact, not responding to their names, or not being interested in the caregivers. Other children may not develop as expected for the first few months of life, and they suddenly become withdrawn or aggressive or lose the language skills they had before. Signs usually are seen by 2 or 3 years. Are seen by ages 2 to 3 years old. Some people in the mild autism spectrum may have more symptoms that aren't noticed early on. They may not be diagnosed until middle or late childhood. Okay. When there is a greater need to communicate and be social, sometimes a diagnosis is made for the first time in adulthood, which that actually, that was, again, those symptoms were likely present during childhood. Each child, and this was important for me to read. Each child with autism spectrum disorder is likely to have a unique pattern of behavior that depends on whether the symptoms are mild, moderate, or severe. So that's why it's a spectrum. That's why it's a spectrum. I got to ask, did you know anything about autism at all when you finally find out? Had you been studying or learning, or well, how did you know? I guess, how did you? Because see, I wouldn't know. I'd have to like dig up books.
Yeah.
Do my. Well, you're a lawyer. You dig up on everything.
Well, the thing is that I actually knew about autism because I have a first cousin on my mother's side that's autistic. And so,
Okay.
interestingly enough, many of the symptoms, or I don't want to say symptoms, just characteristics that my son shows, I recognize as the same characteristics that my first cousin had when he was younger. And he's only several years, he's a few years younger than I am, but I remember he often would have to have difficulty with transitions, also sensory issues, and difficulty making eye contact. But one thing that definitely threw me off course when kind of trying to evaluate before we received the final diagnosis if my son was autistic is, wait a second, he's really affectionate and social.
Yeah.
So with me and my husband and
Right.
with people that he was very close with, he made eye contact, and it wasn't as if he was and actually his speech was very good. So that's another thing that kind of threw us off.
Right.
And so it's really difficult to kind of tell, but when you keep on seeing the same characteristics pop up and you see that there's nothing that you can really do to resolve it. And then I started reading up more online about the characteristics of autism and also speaking to other parents who had autistic children as well, and speaking to my brother who had taught children in special education classes for years. I think that's what really helped me, decide like, okay, we need to get the formal diagnosis so that we can receive the services that he needs.
877-955-1061. Give us a call. Yeah, give us a call. You go. We need information here. And I want to ask about, is there, we stigmatize damn near everything, right? Was there I guess it was a stigma in the past. I think there has been in the past. Did you run into that? Is that still prevalent at all, or are people like, hey, yeah.
I feel very fortunate to be growing up in the time that my son is growing up in the time that he is now, because he's actually attending an elementary school that I feel has done a very good job in being inclusive. So he attends elementary school in Pacifica. And
So
go
we got
ahead.
a call. We're gonna take
Yeah.
we got a call. Right. Oh, that's okay. We're gonna take this call. Hi, you're on Street Soldiers talking about autism. You got a comment, a question, an experience to share? Go right ahead. Say your name and where you're calling from, if you don't mind.
Yes. My name is Jasmine Noble, and I'm calling from Oakland, California. And I'm calling because my son is on the spectrum, and it's just really good to, I guess, hear a shared experience. And my son is 4 years old right now, and what I'm experiencing is just like every day is different, and I know that he's like on the spectrum, but I just see him as being highly intelligent. And so my dad just reminded me, like, Che, that's my son's name. He has superpowers. Like, it's nothing, wrong with him per se. And it's been really hard for me at times to like accept that, because he does show up differently. But anyway, what I've noticed with him recently is that like randomly he's saying more words, and he really is just like soaking up his environment. And I'm just like really seeing his superpowers, like how he sees the world and how he's so meticulous in what he's doing, and because he's not fully verbal yet, like everything is about action, and we named him after Che Guevara, which is his name is a call to action, when you say Che. So I just see that within my child. And so I also wanted to say that there's this lovely book that my grandma told me about that's called Uniquely Human.
Hold on, I'm gonna write this down. Hold on, I'm gonna write this down. It's called Uniquely Human. Okay.
Yes, Uniquely Human.
Yes.
A different way of seeing autism.
Wow.
It's by Barry P. Prizant. He's a Ph.D. And it's just really, really interesting, his perspective and how he's just challenging the norms. Like, for example, my son might STEM, and honestly, sometimes I'm like, why are you making all that noise? But that's his way of expressing himself. And it's okay. Just like if I see something funny on the TV, I'm going to laugh, So basically, I brought that up to say in the book, he's bringing up what's supposed to not be normal and saying that this is our children or people who are on the spectrum, they're uniquely human. So I really suggest that people read this book if they can, who are dealing with raising children that have superpowers, or they might have superpowers themselves. So this is a really great eye opener. And it's just such a praise to see my son just say more words. And then he's like randomly saying words that I say to him. And I'm like, oh, well, your mind is so sharp. You're remembering what I said. Like just a few minutes ago, I went in my mom's room and he's like, out, out, out. And then he's pulling me out. I'm like, I didn't even know you know how to say out. So I know I'm being a little long-winded, but I'm just happy to call in and to, hear you all recognizing Autism Month, because it is a beautiful challenge. And like it said, it is a spectrum. So not all children or people that are on the spectrum are going to show up the same, and I think that's very important for people to know. Just like anybody else who's not on the spectrum, we're going to show up differently. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. That's about it.
Oh, look. That's wonderful. You want to say something?
I do, Jasmine. Thank you so much for sharing and just being so vulnerable with your experience, right? Because we're in this together, right? This is a village. And what was new for me was that term stimming. And can you tell me a little bit more about that? So like when we're out in the community and we see it happening, just to know that it's normal. But what is stimming?
Yes. So excuse me. So stimming is like what my son does when he stims is he's flapping his hands, you know.
Okay.
So I try to like normalize it because if he sees something spinning
Mhm.
or he sees children running, he gets really exciting. And I just say, you know, Che is just soaring like an eagle. He's
Oh,
soaring like an
I
eagle
love it.
because,
Yeah.
you know, people will look. And it's
Yeah.
like the mama bear in me is like,
Yeah.
well, what y'all looking
Yeah.
at? You know? I just make it okay. Because he
Good.
can get really, really excited and really loud, and no matter where we are. And I'm also seeing that as like a sense of freedom. You know,
Yes.
he shows up how he shows up. And like I said, we do have our highs and lows, but
Mhm.
I'm just learning him as I go. Like, first time mom, he's 4. So, yeah.
You're
You're a
doing
great
great,
mom.
super
You're a
mom.
great
You
mom.
are doing great. Thank you
He made you
so
super,
much.
but he got a super mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. That was wonderful.
It was beautiful.
Okay. Hi.
Hello, you're on the air. Turn down your radio,
Yes,
please.
you're on. Can you say your name and where you're calling from? And we're talking about. Go.
Yeah, my name is Callie, and I'm calling from Oakland. I turned off my radio. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Loud
Great.
and
Thank
clear.
you.
You're great.
Okay, cool. All right, my AirPods are insecure. Okay, awesome. I just want first and foremost, I just want to say I thank you all for discussing this topic because I do Uber on a side, and I picked up a passenger. I just dropped off a passenger about 5 minutes ago, and we were listening to your station and you were talking about autism, and I learned something new from him about the spectrum of autism, something that I never knew was a thing. And like he also educated me and told me that Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, is on the spectrum of autism. And Eminem was also on the spectrum as well. Like if you notice, Eminem rarely does interviews, I guess because he's nervous or whatever. But I thank you guys for bringing awareness to this, and I'm definitely going to watch the movie Rain Man because I heard it was a really good movie, and I like the context of what you guys were saying. And sometimes I wonder if I'm on a spectrum because I do deal with things like social anxiety, not being comfortable around people, and just thinking about my life in the past and relationships and like what I dealt with, how I was treated in school or seen as indifferent. I often wonder and like if there's a way to get tested for this.
There is.
Well, no, I just think that was so interesting. Passenger in the car. I mean,
Yeah.
wow. And thanks for listening to us. Really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Yes. Another call? All right. Yeah. You're on Street Soldiers. Say your name, where you're calling from. We're talking about autism. Go right ahead.
Before we move on,
My name is Kim. I'm calling from San Leandro, and I'm a teacher. I teach children with special needs.
Okay.
Kim, can you hold on just one quick second? Mrs. Stell or Lady Estelle did want to say something really quick.
No, I'll wait. Let her share.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
this is information that may be helpful for someone else. So,
Okay.
Thank
no,
you.
please go on.
Go right ahead, huh?
I just wanted to call in. I just happened to turn on the radio driving, and I heard that, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I teach early childhood special education in Oakland, and I just wanted to share for parents who may be listening that early intervention is one thing that is very helpful. And also for stimming, I heard something about a parent talking about that. For children who are stimming, you can also try sometimes to redirect them. And that helps, but sometimes it's also okay to let them, it's just okay to let them stem.
Good. All right.
It's really up to the parent. Some parents want to redirect the stemming because they feel embarrassed about it, but some parents are okay because that just shows you, like she was saying, they're excited or they're happy, and that's their way of expressing it. And there's different forms of stemming. They can flap their hands. They may like just stare at their own hands. They may like just stare off kind of, but there's different forms of stemming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share.
We got the best listeners and callers in all the talk radio, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Lady E, you want to get in right now? Lady E?
Not yet. I'm gonna make a phone call because I need to get an answer for the young man who wanted to know how he can be his concerns about possibly being on the spectrum. And
Okay.
can someone be tested? And so, absolutely yes. And so, a friend of mine is a psychologist. And so, I'm just going to wake her up
All right. All right.
and give me a referral. How can one be tested? An adult go in. What's the process for that? Because I believe absolutely, typically, because I was an educator, school counselor, and schools have access to people who can test, who can do evaluations and tests. But there are also outside of schools where people can be tested. So I'm about to give her a call
Oh, thank you.
so I can get some information.
All right. We will report what you find out. 877-955-1061. If you can, give us a call. Some great calls.
Yeah.
We have some wonderful
my God.
information from the callers. Thank you so much for sharing. And just going back to what you're talking about with respect to inclusivity, I love the discussion on stimming because, and thank you, Anne, for asking the follow-up question about it. Because if you see a child stimming or educators who may not be familiar with children with special needs or with certain characteristics of kids who are autistic, if you see a kid, for example, flapping their hands or maybe kicking their chair repeatedly, it's not necessarily to disturb the class,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's because maybe they're dealing with something emotionally, and maybe they're overly excited, or there's something that's bothering them, like the lights are too bright or something like that, or there's a sound that's bothering them, and whatever they're doing to stim, it's helping them regulate their emotions. So with respect to inclusivity, I think my son's elementary school is great because we actually have something called Ability Awareness Week, and it's where all of the grades they study different types of disabilities. And usually, the older grades, such as the fourth graders and the fifth graders, they learn more about autism and what it is. And I have to say that my child, his autism is relatively mild, and so he's not in a special day class. He's in a general education class with a full-time aide. And the times that I've been there, what I've observed is that many of the kids, if they see him acting in a way that might be unusual, for example, if he has a meltdown, if there's a sudden change in routine, the other kids don't look and laugh or point and react.
Right.
They understand that that's how my son
normal.
is. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looks like we have another caller.
Yeah. Yeah. We do. All right. Hi, you're on Street Soldiers. We're talking about autism. Say your name, where you're calling from, and go right ahead.
I'm Ashley. I'm from Hayward, and I just want to say, normalizing autism, for everybody has been so awesome. Sometimes, we're on this spectrum, and everybody has a little bit of things that would be in common. And so, we know a lot of people who are autistic, and so sometimes, my kids will say, oh, that's my autism showing, the little things that they do, sometimes walking on their toes or stimming or, and so making it normal is, just amazing. So when other parents do it with their kids, it makes it easier on the parents who have kids with autism.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for calling in. I'm looking at this number, 1 in 36. That means, okay. Oh, we got a call. All right, go right ahead. Say your name, where you're calling from. We're talking about autism on Street Soldiers. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my name is Philip. I'm calling from San Jose. I'm a caregiver, and then I have a child that she has Angelman syndrome, and it's close to Angelman syndrome and autism sort of get mixed up, misdiagnosed in a way. But I was calling to say that one of my good friends, I don't know, is I can say him on the air. He's a DJ. His name is DJ Stoney with the Autism Family Network. And he has a lot of information about autism and people being able to get tested even as adults. And when we're not on the, if we get off, when we're not on the air, I could give you his number, and
Great.
you could reach out to him also, because he's like he does all the autism events from the Bay to Santa Cruz.
Wow.
That's awesome. Thank
Oh
you so
man,
much for
thank
sharing.
you. Thank you
sharing.
so much. Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
We have your number.
Appreciate it.
We will reach out.
You gonna hear from us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope, got another one. We'll take them. Oh, it's 2 minutes. Okay. I'm still on this book, Uniquely Human.
Yeah.
I think that is just great.
It's beautiful.
A different way of seeing autism. Makes me think. You know what it makes me think of is all the. I mean, I'm an educator, right? All my in fact, it's all I've ever been, and I know a lot about all the young people that were misdiagnosed or not diagnosed,
Yeah.
or just just kicked out of class.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. You two rambunctious, you do this, you do that. I mean, look, I've seen some little ones, it's like, and I mean, just, and then put on this drug, put on that drug, put on this drug. I mean, Ritalin is the one that they would use for years because these folks didn't get it, didn't want to get it, didn't want to know that they were just being different. Must be tons of kids like that.
Put on those boxes,
Fit in the boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you developed a community of
Definitely. So the Pacifica School District, we actually have something called the Special Education Parental Advisory Committee, and it consists of parents and caregivers of children with special needs. And we get together on a regular basis through virtual meetings, and we talk about the different services that are being offered at our respective schools, staffing changes, and we also just talk about resources within the community. And so one of the ways that my son learned how to swim is one of the moms recommended a particular swim school that was down in Half Moon Bay, and swimming is now one of his favorite activities. And so it's a little bit sometimes it can be challenging to find the right community members because the thing is that not everyone may understand, for example, the particular characteristics that your child has. But it's just like with neurotypical people, there are some people that you're going to click with and some people that you're going to not click with.
Yes.
So
yes.
you can't just kind of like
Yes.
get stuck on that. You have to move on and really find your community. And it's really interesting because I was actually speaking with my husband's cousin whose son was recently diagnosed with autism. And within her particular school district, they do not have a group such as the Special Education Parental Advisory Committee. And I suggested that she start one because one of the most important things to know as you're parenting an autistic child is that you're not alone in this. And definitely the parents that had older children, they provided me with a lot of solid advice with respect to, for example, making sure that you have like a code word if you're with your child, and if they feel like they're going to have a meltdown, they can just say the code word and you know that they need to take a break from whatever is going on. Or, different ways on which you can advocate for different services within the school district. So just all of those things, really important to find community members with good advice like that.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to keep the conversation going.
We're going to be joined by Gary Hall from our first show. He's going to talk about how things have been for him and his family and his son.
That's right. Okay. So go ahead and follow us on YouTube Live at Stay Alive and Free, and keep up with us on stayaliveandfree.org.
Hour number two, Alive and Free, Street Soldiers Radio. What a wonderful first hour we had. Our second show on autism. And we are joined this hour by the one who's on the first show that we did. The first show that we did back in, that's what I say, November of 2023. We're going to get an update on how his son is doing. And I called him at the last minute. And he said, yes. Gary Hall, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us once again, man. You're looking good as always. And
I appreciate that, Joe. I appreciate that.
I don't know if you heard any of the first hour. Monica Howell is I guess in the first hour. She is going to be with us as we hear from you, and probably we'll jump in and talk about her situation. And Monica, just before, why don't you just tell Gary a little about you? I don't know if he heard, but you and your situation with your and the age and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So I have an 8-year-old son, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was 4 years old.
Okay.
And he is in a general education class, has been since TK. He's now in the second grade, and he's had a one-on-one aide since kindergarten.
Okay. Well, it doesn't surprise me that a mama bear here is talking about this because, Joe, in the history of this movement of acceptance of people on the spectrum, it's been the mama bears that have been out there really pushing this needle forward. Joe, I don't know if you know this, some people in our ecosystem is very, very responsible. We are so lucky, those of us who live here in California, with this situation. So I think it may be helpful, if you don't mind, before we talk about my son. And I would definitely want to learn a little bit more about your son, see if there's any lessons learned from my 23-year-old now, 24-year-old now, and yours. But,
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
We don't know who heard that first show. And even if they
Yeah.
didn't hear it,
Yeah.
you don't mind going back,
Sure.
and
Sure.
to talk
Sure.
about your son, your discovery, the whole bit, because
Yeah.
that was just wonderful.
Right. So again, I've got a 24-year-old. I'm blessed to have two sons and two wonderful what I call bonus daughters now. But my youngest son was diagnosed a little much earlier than yours, Monica, when he was 18 months. And his mom, as moms do, noticed things very, very early on in the process that he's a little different. My son could count all the way up to 100, but he wasn't saying mom and wasn't saying dad. For a living, I'm a banker. And when my son was counting, I was like, yes, but mom knew that there was something else special about him that we need to get him tested. And so she asked me, we should go and try and see him getting tested. And I actually resisted it. I was like, for what? I mean, he's fine, and it took me a minute to really just capitulate to that request. Once he was tested, they knew very instantly that he was on the spectrum. They prescribed a lot of early intervention, which is really helpful to those. That's why it's really important if you have any suspicion or instinct that your son or daughter might be on the spectrum. I would say get them tested and try to get some early intervention because it really helps for their long-term sort of evolution on this journey. But we went through that process. We found out very early that my son was on the spectrum. His mom went straight into action mode, trying to find all the resources that we could to try to mitigate his issues and make sure that he can have the most fulfilling life that he could. I went into bereavement mode because I had this dream of what my two boys would be. And I somehow thought that dream was somehow, totally destroyed when we're going down this different sort of journey. Life has taught me that was the most naive thought that I could. It has been rough, no question about it, but I am no doubt a better person, a better father, a better friend, because of the love and unconditional love I've seen and learned for caring and loving my son. So all that to say, we spent a lot of time and effort trying to maximize his potential in the same way we have with our other son. And we used all the resources that were available. Our mantra was, we're paying for it as taxpayers, so we should extract as much value as we can. And that was in working with school districts to ensure that he got all the services that he could when we were in local school districts. And then as he's migrated out of those, how do we then get the best treatments for him? This is a very individualized sort of situation, and so not everybody on the spectrum has the same common needs, and so you have to know your kid and know what's right for your kid. And so we had 10 toes in figuring it out. We ultimately decided that he needed to go to a school.
I want to back you up for a minute.
Yep.
Before you get there. I want to go back to how much of a learning curve was it for you? And did you know anything about autism at all? Because I know with me, I'm learning just from the shows that we're doing. How much was Did you know anything, and how much was a learning curve was it for you?
So in Canada, the first thing I heard about autism was this movie Rain Man or something. That's the first time I ever saw anything about it, and I had no idea, right? And in Canada, Joe, people had conflated autism and retardation and all these other stuff. And so I didn't really understand the subtleties of it. And now I know that there are people who've done very, very successful in life, and people with Elon Musk and others who are on the spectrum. So it is a wide way spectrum. So the answer is no. I had no clue, man. Since then, I've learned a lot about it. And the stories I shared with you in our past episode about the amazing things that my son can do show you how special these people are. My son can do a 1,000-piece puzzle in under a couple of hours. Just because he has this way of being able to configure things. Early on, he would build.
Can we show that really quick, if you don't mind? Because I saw that puzzle and I was like,
"No, this is the picture I like. Stop right there. Stop on this picture. I don't want to know the picture."
No, look at this puzzle. That's 1,000 pieces. That is not easy. So
amazing.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Okay,
more pictures as we go on.
This
But,
one.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that
we'll go back to that.
We'll come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where he is now.
That's where he is now. But how we got here, Joe, is that we had to make a painful decision to send our son to a boarding school, right? In Wichita, Kansas. I had never been to Wichita, Kansas, and we searched all over the country to find the right school. Why we decided on doing that is we wanted to teach our son independent living skills. We wanted to have him have the best environment to integrate those skills with his day-to-day learning activities, right? So he can learn stuff at school, and then if he's not getting the same sort of consistency in teaching at home, that's going to degrade his ability to have these independent living skills. So we wanted to have this, what we call this integrated sort of learning system. And so his mom had done a tremendous amount of research on all the different programs that are out there. We visited schools as far as Boston, and we were willing to do that if we needed to, and found a place in Wichita, Kansas called Heart Spring, where he spent 6.5 years there, including during the pandemic, which was extremely hard for us. Not only was the school right for our son because they could then, curate all of his services that were again unique to him. He could be in an environment that was communal with other people around him and other people who understood things. So things like stemming, both physically and verbally, others understood that. He wouldn't be an exception. And then broader than that, the community itself within Wichita was very accepting. So these kids were not just sequestered on a campus. They can go out in the community and go to the store. And so as they transition, and we'll get to this, into adulthood, they had reps. And so all those things were very beneficial in getting to my son now, where he can sit around and embrace being around cheerleaders, which I'm happy about. So, so the point being,
let me ask you this. As going through this, because I also looked. I think what we talked about on the show was, young men of color, people of color.
Oh man.
What'd you learn about that, and your concerns, going to an environment where there might not have been.
That was my biggest concern. So when she said we got to go visit Wichita, Kansas, I said, what? That's not going to work. And so that was a big concern of mine, and especially at the time he was 10. Or maybe like going into adolescence. And so I was really worried about that. Turns out in that environment, there is some diversity. There's some diversity with people of color on the spectrum. And they're very intentional about that as well. So that was very helpful. That made me comfortable. But throughout his journey, that intersection of keeping him safe, understanding how he's got to be folded into the broader society. I'll give you a current study, and I'm fast forwarding, just bear with me. Joe, your show is a lot about how we keep people safe and alive and all the things that are going on in America. This whole ICE situation scared the bejesus out of us. Why? Our son now, and we'll talk about that later, is being cared for by a phenomenal agency out in Antioch. And most of his staff are people from the Hispanic community. Some have migrated from Cuba. And during all this sort of ICE stuff, the notion of my son being in the car, right, when some ICE agent is approaching his staff member, right, and my son not being able to communicate, and when they were doing the things that we saw them doing, that scared the bejesus out of us, right? And so we had to come up with a plan. And we literally, in working with the agency, who, even though, you know, they were going through what they were going through, they understood our concern. My son will wear a sort of not a lanyard or something that says, "I'm autistic," all right, everywhere he went. Okay. And so if at least if they're accosted by ICE or anything, they can point to the sign and say, "Hey, we're caring for the autistic child," right? And so those things, you know, you have to be concerned about. You can't divorce yourself of the other stuff that's going on in society just because you're dealing with the things that we're dealing with, being on this autism journey. And I say to you, Mom, as a mom to a 4-year-old, please do not underestimate those things, because, you know, especially our son was low functioning, not nonverbal. I think you mentioned your son is in general school, so that's phenomenal. But sometimes that's also a curse because people don't know, right? And so we got to be really attentive on making sure that folks can understand this wide spectrum of autism. And that's why I'm so happy that this is Autism Acceptance Month, as opposed to just Autism Awareness Month.
Yep. Yeah, it's just interesting because when you're talking about the eye situation, she's here because we're talking about autism and her son, but her day job, she's an immigration attorney.
Yes. So I definitely can identify with the fear you're feeling about some of the workers that assist your son being detained and being questioned, and your son not being able to communicate with, you know, the situation. And it's interesting because I think the intersectionality of my son also being a person of color, he's half Filipino, half Palestinian. I always think he's 8 years old right now, but when he's 15 or 16, and if he has a meltdown or if he can't communicate in a certain way that a law enforcement officer, for example, wants him to communicate, what's going to happen, right? So I think about that all the time. And so I definitely agree that it's really important to not only be aware of autism, but be accepting of it, know what the characteristics are, and know that people have different styles of communicating, right? People have different ways of thinking. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to act out of pocket or they're trying to be disrespectful. So it's really important for everybody to get to know the neurodiverse people in the community, and you know what that really means and how we can best support them.
You brought up something that I hadn't thought of: the police, law enforcement. You know, and as one who was on the police commission here for 14 years, you know, I don't think officers have any idea about you know, they got. Go ahead.
But Joe, we talked about that in the last show because that was the first reaction you had, and we were a little closer to the inflection point with George Floyd, where that was forefront of our mind. And I told you what I did. You know, I live in Piedmont. You know, when we moved here, I took my kids, both my boys, to the police station, introduced them to the police officers, told the police officer that my son was on the spectrum. He has a tendency to elope from our backyards. And so if he sees something titillizing to him in someone else's backyard, he's going to try to get there. And so if you wake up and see a young African-American male jumping on your trampoline, that's because he's on the spectrum. And so, you know, at first they were a little, you know, taken aback as to why I would do that and assumed that I was making some prejudgments about them. Afterwards, when we had a couple of situations, they were extremely appreciative of that extra action. So, you know, again, we have to go through these sort of machinations, man, to protect our kids, and we can't divorce ourselves from what's going on in society.
Can you tell us just a little bit more about elopement? Because I think that might be a new term for some people.
Sure.
And if there's any other vocabulary or actions that you might want to share with us.
Bottom line, when my son felt like he wanted to break, he's like, deuces, I'm out. So whether it's at his school, and he's like, I'm tired of this subject matter, or whether it's at home because I'm tired of dad talking to me and lecturing me, whatever, he's gone. He just leaves, right? And so we had to put protections on our doors to make sure we knew that when he was leaving, we had to, we actually, one of the reasons that we decided on changing the school that we had here in the Bay Area to where he was is because they had a protected campus that would make sure that he would be safe and with that sort of tendency. But there's a whole host of individualized behaviors that those on the spectrum have. My son has his go-tos. I suspect your son has his as well. My son also verbal stems, right? So when we are flying from one place to another, he sings or he makes noises, right? And when he was young, and you would get he's got a beautiful voice. But now that he's 23, 24-year-olds, it's a source of annoyance for people on planes, right? And so, that was something that I had to get used to. Now it's their problem, not my problem. But all that to say is that there are a host of different types of activities that these folks on the spectrum have that we in society have to be more accepting of.
Do either of you know, is there a gender difference when it comes to autism, or is it doesn't matter? I'm curious about that.
I believe, I don't know the exact statistics, but I believe that more males are diagnosed with autism than females.
That's right.
And for the females that are autistic, a lot of times they're diagnosed at a later age.
But Joe, what I would say to you have two autistic males next to one another, they're totally different. Right. So the separation based on gender is again, we're using our neurotypical way to put people in boxes, right? That categorization is a little bit more refined, a little bit more subtle. And that's why, it's a huge spectrum. But we're jumping around. Now that we're in Autism Acceptance Month, and given your audience, especially some of these people out there who are dealing with this, as their kids not only are, in their early stages, but as they become adults, there are some resources that they should know that they have, right? And the first thing I want you guys to have a tremendous amount of appreciation for is the state of California is a unicorn with respect to providing services with people on the spectrum, right? We have in the state started some time ago by, get this, Joe, a Republican, right? It's called the Lanterman Act. And essentially, from the time a kid is born and diagnosed to their death, they get a range of services that helps from everything from case management to behavioral services, a whole host of things that my son benefits from, right? 400,000 people get benefits from these regional centers. And Joe, going back to what I was saying, someone in our ecosystem, his mom was one of the catalysts for these regional centers being born. The San Francisco, I think it was called like San Francisco Aid to Retarded Children or something like that. And they had a sister agency in Marin, were really pushing hard to change this way that we would actually treat people who had mental disabilities. With the whole eugenic stuff, people would just put people away and separate them. And so we had like literally 30 and 40,000 people in these 4 state hospitals that were overcrowded and had horrible services, right? And so these women, moms, were advocating that this was not the way that they wanted their children to be cared for. And in particular, she had a statement that I wanted to read to you, Joe, because I thought it was great. And Chuck provided this to me. Her name was Doretha Collins, by the way. And she and her husband, Daniel Collins, he was a dentist. They were really evangelists out there and getting this act passed, working with others around the country. And she said, I just didn't think it was fair for him, her son, to be involved, and wanted for him not to be involved. And I wanted other people to learn that there are going to be some disabled people around, and you might as well get used to it, right? And so she changed the system of having all these people cared for away from us in these sort of institutions, and brought this to where they're cared for within the community. And that's why these regional centers are informed. We all get these services. This is an entitlement, all right? If you know about it. And if you know to ask about it. Okay? All right? An entitlement. right? So literally, you are entitled to get your kids the services that she or he needs through these regional centers from the time that they're in school working. When they're up to 22, they work in tandem with your school district, okay? Because your son or daughter is entitled to have a free and appropriate education, and that education is tailored to their needs. So you have to work with your school system to make sure you're getting that for your child. And then as they migrate over the age of 22, they become an exclusive patient, or not patient, but client of the regional center. And now you have a case manager. So let's bring us up to date. What's Grant doing? So Grant is now aged out of his program that he was in Wichita, Kansas, and now he has to come back to California, a place that he had not lived in. Now, he would visit from time to time. And now what do we do? Okay. And so first we have to think about where's he going to live, what sort of services he's going to have, who's going to help us get those services, and talk about education, man. Woof, we had to go back to school. We had done all the things that we needed to do to work through the school systems, but this is a whole different animal. And so, we had to think about whether or not we wanted to be in an adult residential facility. Okay. And that's when your person is in a place and they provide all the services. If something happens to that facility, his services goes away. Or do we want to curate our own living environment and then get people to come in to provide these services? And that's called a support living service program. Okay. All of this is subsidized through these regional centers, all right, that you and I help pay for as taxpayers. So again, you should take advantage of that. And so we had to think about what was the right sort of regime for him and the battery services that he needed for him. And so we decided to have Grant. We've got a place out in Antioch. He has one roommate. We work with this wonderful agency, My Connection. They curate in coordination with us all of his services. He's involved in a day program where he gets up like you and I every day, 8:39, goes in, checks in, goes in the community. They have different things for him to do during the course of the day. And I share some pictures of all the things he's involved in. He has recreational activities. He bowls. He shoots basketball. He's got a great left hand, Joe. I'm telling you, man. You can go. All right.
Him and Obama.
He shoots basketball. He goes to Warrior games, and the fact that he can take a Warrior game with all that sensory stimulation, and can be in an environment that he's not just tolerating but thriving in, is a testament to how much work he's done. So I'm very, very proud of him, and the people who are working with him. And so we're just in a very, very good place right now with the services our son has been provided, him being closer to home, and being blessed to be in the state of California with all these services that we can get paid by the taxpayers. Pause to get your reaction.
How old is Grant now?
He's 23.
23.
Yeah.
23. He's 23, 24? Well, yeah. Eric, I really appreciate you coming on, because this has been a long road for you.
Yeah.
And you've been vigilant the whole time.
Yeah.
You and Mom, most of the ones we talk about here, little kids, but the little kids grow up, right? So you got to, and so to hear where he is now, that must make you feel great. I mean,
it does. It does.
That must, wow.
And it has me thinking also, like, what, in 10, 15 years, where is my son going to be as well?
Absolutely.
I also just definitely the regional center that has provided services for my son is the Golden Gate Regional Center. But I also want everybody listening to know that aside from the regional center, you can also apply for services through private insurance if you have it.
That's right.
That's how my son receives applied behavioral analysis therapy. And then also, aside from the regional centers, aside from private insurance, you can also look at your individual school district where you live in. So my son was found to be eligible for a one-on-one aid, which is great. And he also receives occupational therapy and speech therapy at school as well. So definitely, if you have a formal diagnosis of autism, I definitely recommend looking at those three categories. private insurance, regional center, and also the school district where you're living in for services that your child can get.
No, this is all. It's just, where else would we get this?
Yeah.
This is show those pictures, and we're gonna show these pictures of Granted at now. Yeah, so that's him at the. And Gary, you tell us what each of those pictures are. Where is
Yeah,
it?
so I couldn't make it to the game, but Grant says I'm doses. He's there. So Grant, they actually, and this is a great community win. The Warriors actually had a day for special needs folks, and Grant's the service team that he works with took a bunch of adults with autism to the game where they enjoyed and had a great time. It's funny you mentioned that because in order for him to be in an environment like that and thrive, there is a tremendous amount of work that has to take place. And so they were talking to him weeks on, showing him games on TV, letting him know where he was going. So when he got there, he was so excited because we were finally there because he had been hearing about it for weeks, that he really, really thrived. There's some other pictures here where you can see him. He's out in the community.
You tell us about each one of these.
Yeah, so here he was just bowling and he made a couple of strikes, so he's very happy with the trophy that he's received. He's decided, and there he is again. He wants to smile and let Dad know that he can bowl, and he wants to take me on next time. So
You're going down, Dad.
I'm going down. And then he's out in the community. Show him what the growth, and then he's out in the community. He loves shopping, man.
I love this.
Yeah, and he looks to getting his Cheerios.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, he's still like every other kid. He still gives me the check.
Man, you got a great smile, man. You got a great smile.
But he loves going to the store. And then this is he and I going. I take him to his doctor's appointment, and listen, man. A lot of times, and rightly so, I know his mom is unbelievable and has been throughout his life. But this is not something that you can advocate. I want these dads to lean in and be involved and understand not just the caring for the child when there's behaviorals and things like that, but getting into these services, understanding what they're about, making sure they understand all the programs that are available, making sure they're vetting the people that are caring for these kids. You need all hands on decks, and dads got to be involved just as these moms are on the front lines every day.
Yeah. Now this is my favorite because this is impressive.
Yeah,
that's a thousand piece.
And he does these pretty regularly. This is his way. We all have our therapy. I like watching sports, and his ways of doing puzzles. And this has been a way he's been doing this throughout his life. And they just gotten more expansive along the years. Yeah, and then going back to this whole acceptance stuff, we're finding that there are aspects of the community that's not only accepting but very intentional about showing care and adoration for these kids. And so the fire department out in Contra Costa County, they love to bring the kids in, show them all the different utensils they have, and the kids get it. The kids and the adults get a lot of fulfillment out of this. So this is just an example of how other aspects of the community come in and be embracing. Then he likes to walk, man. He walks every day, and he has a very active life. We all should aspire to do that. He likes the outdoors, and now that we're back,
too. He clean. Yeah. He got his leisure stuff going.
That's right.
Well, he knows how to do it too.
Yeah.
I'm a hoodie brother, so yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I know that. Well, Joe, this is one that I just found out recently. So when he's visiting, he has home visits when he comes to me. I jump in and I'm doing everything. This brother is making up his bed, doing his own laundry. He never told me this. So now, so I've been doing all this stuff, and he's been doing this for the last year and a half, and I never knew.
That's awesome.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are great.
Yeah, and
then finally,
you can leave that one out.
Yeah. He was at the Warriors game, and he wanted to get his picture. And Joe, look how attentive he is. He's very focused.
Thank you for sharing these moments with
me. Thank you for
just
sending
really
me these, man. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. What a wonderful, I can't say enough about both of you. Just, I mean, the listening, everything. And like I said, we love our kids, right? We love our kids. And I gotta let
But
Lady E say something before, Lady E, and you the spiritual one here. I'm just
Well, I think that just hearing and seeing how far he's come, but he didn't do it by himself. And it's not just him, it's both of you. The parents, the lady who called in, the young man who called in. The impact that our children have on us,
yeah.
how much they teach us, how far we find we can go and grow with their guidance and their experiences and the love. Sometimes you don't realize how much you can love
Yeah. That's a good
because
way
of
to
the
put it.
expectations that we have as parents. We have
Put it.
expectations for our kids, and those are kind of easy. But when our kids cause us to go deeper, to do more, to see more, to understand more, the growing that happens isn't just them, it's us as well. And what a blessing that is. What a blessing that is to be stretched.
and Lady, you said it right, to be stretched. That's absolutely right. I mean, my son taught me how to be present. He does not allow me not to be. And so that was something that I struggled with, right? And so being able to do that, I know. And then, we all think about reciprocal love having to come in a certain way, right? So you give it and you want the appreciation to come back in a certain way. Well, his doesn't come that way, right? And so I've got to get that fulfillment in a different way, and I got to be open to it. So I've learned and been so enriched through this journey. I look back on it. There were some very, very difficult times, you might believe. But after all, I'm a better person. Our family, we believe that we've been blessed.
You know, Sometimes I like to say this. They chose you.
Exactly.
They could not have picked a better parent than you two, than you all. That those of us, you, who have had to take that extra journey, that extra, what a gift. Because see, they knew who they were picking. How about that? That's you. Even when you thought, are you serious right now? I mean, and that's real.
Yes. Yes.
That's real. And yes, I'm serious. And don't you love it when they check you?
God. Oh
It's
my.
like, wait a minute, hold on. And
Yeah.
then you have to stop and think. You're right. I checked my grandson the other day. No, 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 no. That's backwards. He checked me and he was right. He was right. I'm always right. Wrong. But when he checked grandma, I thought all I could say was, you're right. I am so sorry. And then I started making excuses. I was just trying to, but they just make us grow in different ways. And what a blessing that is.
It, it's really interesting that you say that, Lady E, because before I came on the show, I told my 8-year-old son that I was coming on a radio show to talk about parenting. And he was like, "Oh, it's easy. It's just a little bit of love and a little bit of care." And I was like, "Okay." And then, I was thinking like it's like so much more than that, right? But then it also makes me feel good that I'm making it look easy for him, right? He
Yes.
sees that I care about him very much, I love him
Yes.
so much, and that he doesn't see like, thinking about finances or like, the different buckets of categories where he can receive services. Like what he feels and what he sees is that his mom loves and cares for him. And that's the
Oh
most
my
important.
goodness.
So,
And that is easy.
right.
Out of the mouths of
Yeah.
babes. Hey,
Yeah.
look at that.
It
Look at
just
that.
it just touches you in a different way.
So
It's
Joe, I
Wow.
got to tell you this, man. If there were, if I had had the benefit of being exposed to a show like this when I was in the eye of the storm, I can't tell you what that would have meant for me. And so the fact that you would take, and there's so many things that are out there that are newsworthy that I'm sure that your audience want to talk about, but for you to take this very, very important medium and this powerful real estate that you have in this outlet and distribution channel and spend it on this topic, I can't tell you how meaningful that is for so many people. They might not call, but while they're going through stuff, knowing that others are out there, and that there is at least a segment of folks who get it. That is just so helpful in this process. So I want to thank you and your team for continuing to shed light on this, and not just the awareness piece, but the acceptance piece is very, very important.
We're in it together.
Thank you.
The village is
what's that saying? We're not all related, but we're all family. We're all family.
And I've got to say to the young man who said, how do I find out if it's me? You know what a blessing that you got people out there that's checking themselves.
Exactly.
That's checking themselves. We've got violence, we've got madness, we've got stuff. Who's stopping to see what's going on with me? Is there anything more I need to know about me that can help me be better? And so for anyone who has the question, check with your medical doctor and ask for a referral for a neurological assessment. They will refer you to either a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a neurological physician. And you can get tested as an adult to see if you have any autism, anything that can, give you answers to the reasons you see the kinds of behaviors or reactions to things that you're seeing. And believe me, there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. But getting more clarity and understanding so you'll know what to do, how to do is worth it. So again, your medical doctor, request a referral for a neurological assessment.
I got to thank Monica. I got to thank Gary. I got to thank you for this again. Gary, it's funny. People ask, man, Dr. Marshall, you always happy. You always feeling good. Because I get to do things like this. I not feel good. How can I not feel good when you come on to talk folks about, the immigration attorney work, right? How can I not feel good when both of you come on to talk about, because what's the number one rule for living with alive and free? There's nothing more valuable than the individual's life. Yeah. That's what we start from. That's why. And so this has been, wow, man. Thanks for sending those pictures, man. These look great. Yeah, especially cheerleaders. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. He's doing really well.
All right.
Well. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think that's it. I think we're done. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. All right. Best of luck, Mom. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody. See you next week right here. Street Soldiers.